To both the witnesses, thank you so much for being here and giving this information and for your service. I appreciate that. I'd like to ask Secretary Carson a little bit about the issues involving radon and radon testing. As you know, and we've discussed, there have been numerous reports, a million or so instances where it's estimated that radon exists in public housing, and that is a serious hazard for potential lung cancer. And 21,000 Americans die of lung cancer every year. The president's budget includes $5 million. The Healthy Homes Program, I appreciate and commend your recognizing what a problem this is. But one of the problems we see is that public housing authorities also have to provide and make sure that housing is habitable. And when a unit is not being inhabited, though, they somehow get penalized. Huntsville Housing Authority in Alabama, North Alabama, in particular, has had this problem and said that they do not have the money at this time to fix the housing. So, in those units, I want to make sure we invest in safe, healthy housing. But if the monies are not there, I don't want to see some of these public housing authorities being penalized. So, is HUD adjusting its policy so we don't penalize these PHAs while they're waiting for sufficient funds to remove hazardous materials such as radon?
We are. Thank you for mentioning the $5 million, which is the first time that that kind of money has been dedicated to radon. But we also have a Healthy Homes grant of $20 million, which can be utilized for radon as well. We've also changed the inspection protocol so that it will be a part of the inspection. And obviously, as you probably know, there are state and local requirements regarding radon as well. And we will be assessing whether those are being followed during the inspection process.
All right, well, thank you. But my real question is that as these public housing authorities are waiting to abate the radon and these units are sitting empty, are you adjusting your policy so that these PHAs do not get somehow penalized for having vacant places, vacant buildings, vacant apartments?
If the apartments are vacant, but they are not following the protocols that are mandated by state and local law, yes, they will still be penalized. We cannot allow people to simply ignore those regulations.
No, that wasn't my question, sir. I mean, it takes time between getting the money. I mean, they don't have the money. It takes time to get the funds in to abate the radon. And for PHAs that are doing everything they can to comply with the law, are you trying to give some adjustments for their good faith compliance and they simply don't have the money, or are you going to just continue to penalize them even though they just literally do not have the funds to comply?
If they make it clear that they have recognized the problem and they are in the process of addressing it and they're just waiting for the funding to do so, of course, we will provide them an appropriate waiver.
All right, great. Thank you, sir. Thank you for that. Staying with you, Secretary Carson, I appreciate a lot of what is being implemented with the CARES Act and recognizing the disparate impact that this crisis, this healthcare crisis, has had on minority populations. But I think I would be remiss if I haven't pointed out that prior to this crisis, your department has also issued a number of rules and has done some things that I think completely turn on its head the role of HUD in trying to prevent discrimination. For instance, the new rule, and you and I have talked about this, that does away with the disparate impact proposed rule, I think is going to make it almost impossible to provide and sue for on race-based issues. You've got rules that have the mixed status rule, which I think has also going to create problematic areas to try to prove discrimination. The Fair Housing Initiatives program for the 2021 budget, I think, is less than what should be. And, you know, I'm really concerned about the proposed rule where in 2018, the Trump administration delayed and then rescinded the Obama administration's rule regarding recipients of HUD funds and localities to undertake a comprehensive analysis for fair housing barriers. Your proposed rule now completely eliminates tools involving race and segregation, and instead focuses on removing regulatory barriers to develop. So as we move out of this crisis, Mr. Secretary, I'm asking you, can you commit to making sure that the housing department goes back and starts looking at discrimination? We are in a crisis in this country involving race. Everyone is seeing it. It is not just police and law enforcement. Can you commit to making sure that in terms of the housing across this country, your department is going to take another look at the rules that you've implemented and to try to make sure that it is both fair, equitable, and does everything in the government's power to prevent discrimination of any sort?
We will definitely commit to doing everything we can to prevent discrimination and create fair housing. No question about that.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.